Okay. Good morning, and thank you for joining our Iowa Works Work-Based Learning webinar. We are excited to share some innovative recruitment strategy opportunities that may be available for your company. I am Sarah Bath and currently employed as the one-stop operator for the Central Iowa local workforce area. My role includes working with all WIOA partners and community partners to help both job seekers and employers meet their goals. Today, our agenda consists of an introduction to the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, also known as WIOA, a description of work-based learning, and then our team will have some time to explain the work-based learning opportunities available from each of their programs. Finally, we will provide you some contact information and then open up the conversation for questions. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat and we'll make sure we get to them at the end of this presentation. So you guys might be asking, what is WIOA? WIOA is an acronym for the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. This act went into law in 2014. The legislation was passed to strengthen and improve our nation's public workforce system and to get all Americans employed into high-quality jobs and careers and help employers hire and retain skilled workers. This is a federally funded program that provides access to training, employment, and supportive services for job seekers. Under WIOA legislations, these services are conducted within the American Job Center offices, which in Iowa, you may be familiar with them as we call them Iowa Works Centers. Each Iowa Works Center is comprised of different programs that work together to fulfill the purpose of WIOA. And it's critical that all of our partners work together to assist both job seekers and employers. Doing so increases the positive outcomes for those that we're serving. The next slide demonstrates the core partners in every Iowa Works system. As this slide indicates, these titles work as an integrated workforce system where the partners develop and share a common vision. Just briefly go through each of these titles. Title I is a program that works with youth and adults and dislocated workers, providing case management services to assist job seekers in obtaining self-sufficiency in high-demand occupations. Title II is our adult language and literacy program that supports high school equivalency education as well as English language learning education. Title III is what we call the Wagner-Pizer program. This is a program that's responsible for the basic labor exchange and basic employment services to job seekers, as well as employer services to assist with recruitment. Finally, we move to Title IV, which is the vocational rehabilitation services. They serve both youth and adults who have disabilities and work with them to meet their occupational goals. Now, as a quick caveat, these are only 4 of the core partners. We also work with several other required partners, but for purpose of today, these are the 4 main partners that we'll be discussing. Next slide. So you may be asking, what is work-based learning? Because it does seem to be a really hot topic right now. Many of you have heard this term in respect to junior high and high school youth. Well, our work-based programs provide opportunities for youth. We are also different as we have programs that provide opportunities for the transitioning youth and adults as well. Our programs share the same concept of the work-based learning definition. We can provide employers with our program, with the help of employers, can provide job seekers with real-world experience within different occupations. They get the opportunity to see if the career demands and culture align with their skills and values. This can assist the job seeker in making the right choice for them when deciding their preferred career. They can also connect with job seekers to hands-on learning, which helps them provide a deeper understanding of the occupation. can assist in helping them gain technical skills, as well as gaining those soft skills that are needed and necessary to work in the workplace. Next slide. As an employer, there are also several benefits for participating with the work-based learning opportunities. Employers who participate in work-based learning are seeing improved productivity and performance from all of their employees. It can aid in staff development by providing leadership and mentoring opportunities for your experienced staff. It provides an increase in recruitment opportunities as well as retention. Finally, it addresses skills gaps when looking for new employees. As an employer, you have the ability to train the staff in a way that works best for you and your company. Next, I would like to introduce you to Erin Webb. Erin is a business service representative with our Title I Adult Dislocated Worker Program. Erin?
Thanks, Sarah. Yep. So my name's Erin Webb, and I work for the Title I Adult and Dislocated Worker Program. I'm the business service representative. So my job really is to educate employers and community partners about our work-based learning activities and help facilitate those as needed. So the first thing I'd like to do is just speak with you about the different categories of adult and dislocated workers. So these are two different populations that are being served. So our adult category, it's a little bit misleading because both of these programs, everyone is going to be 18 or over. So just saying that they're all going to be 18 or over. But for the adult category, there's a priority of service when it comes to who's eligible for services. And so our top priority is going to be a veteran or a spouse of a veteran who is receiving public assistance or is considered low income. And then after that, if someone is not a veteran, but they are on public assistance or they are considered low income, then they would be the next priority of service. There are also a couple of other maybe barriers or qualifying examples that could lead to eligibility for this program. I won't get into all of it, but those are kind of the main things we see in this population. And then our dislocated workers are going to be people who have been working and are laid off or terminated from a job due to no fault of their own, and they're looking to get into a different career path. So if they were laid off from a job as a production assistant or production warehouse and they really want to get into welding, that could be an example of a dislocated worker. So that's who we're serving. And then what we really do is we're first and foremost a career coaching program. So we really do work with people wherever that they're at in their current life circumstances. We take kind of a holistic approach to serving them. What are they experiencing right now? Where are they at in life? Where do they want to be? And then how do we make the action steps to get them from where they are to where they want to be? Identifying their short-term, long-term goals, assessing their skills, their interests, what could be a good, like a compatible career fit for them, things of that nature. We also address the gaps. So when we're making that action plan to get them from point A to point B, we're addressing the gaps they might have. So I'm going to just use some examples. Let's say someone has a certified nursing assistant, a CNA credential, but they really want to become a nurse. Well, already off the bat, that's going to tell me they need some post-secondary education because you can't just become a nurse overnight. You have to do a lot of schooling to get to that point. So then what that career coach may do is talk to them about different schooling opportunities they have to become a nurse, just as an example. And that's where the training provision comes in. So our program really does utilize training dollars to upskill people into the career fields they would like to be in. So training dollars can look a couple of different ways. We do have tuition that we can spend for people to get schooling, but we also have a lot of work-based learning activities that employers can access if they're training someone to do a job in their organization. I'll get into the weeds in that in just a minute here. Our program also has supportive services. We understand that when people are maybe unemployed or receiving unemployment, they have a lot of stuff piling up. And so they might need some support as they transition back into the workforce or back into a new career. So we have some supportive services we can offer our job seekers, and I'll also go into detail about that. So some of our work-based learning activities, I'm just going to go from left to right here. So the first activity we have is an incumbent worker training activity. I'm really excited about this activity. It's kind of new for our local area, so I'm excited to get this up and going. This is a benefit that's unique because it allows employers and businesses to upskill their current workforce. So it's a training benefit for a business. A business could identify employees who are currently employed, have been there for about 6 months or longer, and are trying, maybe they've already proven themselves, they are showing up, they're doing the job, great work ethic, you really want to promote them internally, and they just need some extra skills to do that. This is where incumbent worker training would come in. So depending on business size and some other considerations, a training could be reimbursed to the employer from 50 to 90%, depending on those considerations. So I'm just going to throw out an example to have it make a little more sense. Let's say you're an employer, you have people on your staff who've been doing nutrition aid or dietary aid at a nursing home, and they really want to get their CNA. Let's hypothetically just say a CNA costs $500 to obtain. Then those individuals could be eligible for incumbent worker training, and the business would be eligible for a 50 to 90% reimbursement of that $500 per employee being upskilled. So that's just an example to kind of make more sense. The intent of this training is really to help avert layoffs and to keep employees and businesses competitive. So they're not falling behind, they're not getting behind on maybe technology or updated equipment or things like that, really helping them stay competitive in the markets. If you are interested in this type of training and utilizing these dollars, then there's actually an application process. So if you're interested in that, you can contact me. My contact info will be up at the end of this PowerPoint, so you can contact me and I can work with you on that. Work experiences and internships. So these have some similarities, a few key differences though. A work experience or an internship activity within our program would be when our job seeker is considered an employee of Title I. So they would be on Title I's payroll system, and all of their wages would be paid from our budgets. These are typically 3 months in duration, about 500 or 520 hours. That's the maximum we can do. So if they're doing like a full-time contract, that would be about 3 months. This does not have to result in permanent employment, though it can. But the nature of these activities are to support the job seeker. The job seeker would be gaining maybe some soft skills, some basic work skills. Maybe they haven't had a job before, or it's been a long time since they were in the workforce, and they're needing to kind of get used to the routine of that basic work life routine. And then an internship is going to be more designed for someone who is trying to gain industry insights. And so that could look like a student who needs to complete an internship for their degree type of situation. On the job training contract, that's the one on the right. So this is going to be a little bit different. This is when someone is an employee of the business from day one. So the employer has hired this job seeker. They're on their payroll system. They're earning benefits the same way any other employee would. They do any kind of pre-screening or health screenings or things that are typically required of any employee. And for this contract, the employer would be eligible for 50% wage reimbursement for the duration of training. Training can be up to 6 months. It might be less than that. It just depends on the skill of the job and the skill of the job seeker. And that's how that is kind of worked out. And this would result in permanent employment. So they are permanently employed from day one. And then after the contract is over, there's really a seamless transition for the job seeker and the employer. They're just not receiving a reimbursement check anymore. When I think about OJT and when this might be like helpful for an employer. It could be if someone has applied for a job opening and they match a lot of the qualifications you're looking for, but maybe they're just missing one or two of those key ones. And so it's going to take a bit more effort from the employer to train them and make sure that they're skilled. And so the OJT really allows an employer to take their time and be really thorough and have a kind of a safety net to support this person as they get trained. So supportive services, something unique about our program is that we are supporting our job seekers on the back end, on that personal life stuff, in addition to their training. So a lot of times you might have experienced this in hiring, that a lot of times when people aren't showing up to work on time or they're not showing up at all, it's possibly due to things like transportation or lack of childcare, right? Those are two big barriers just in our society, in our community. And so what our program can do is we can help support our job seekers if they need these assistance. So if someone is commuting a further distance than they're used to, we can provide some gas reimbursement. Or if someone lacks childcare and they need childcare, we can help support that during the training contract. So whether it's an internship or an OJT. We also have a clothing activity. This is really used for anything, any equipment that they might be using or wearing when they're on the job. So if they need safety goggles or shoes or a stethoscope or anything like that, that's kind of expected that the employee purchases out of pocket, we can purchase that for them for their training. We also have some emergency assistance. This might look like supporting someone if they had an unexpected car repair or something of that nature. And then we have miscellaneous category, kind of a catch-all for things that maybe aren't already outlined here, but that do happen. So this is something that is really helpful as people transition into the workforce. So examples of success, I wanted to provide an idea of how these could function and what they could look like. So I have an OJT example. So we have John. John is a dislocated worker, so he was laid off due to no fault of his own, and he wants to get into a skilled trade or an apprenticeship type of position. He really wants to grow his career. There is an employer that's been identified that provides hands-on learning in the trade of fiber optics. John is interested in this, so a contract for an OJT is written up. And during the OJT contract, John utilizes some transportation assistance, so he is getting some gas reimbursement. And then once the OJT is completed, he remains employed and continues to grow, develop with that employer. So that is an example of what a successful OJT could look like. An internship example. So for internship, we have Betty. She's under our adults category. She's about to complete her 2-year paralegal studies degree, and she actually needs an internship to complete her degree for her school. So a local law firm has a big project that they are taking on that they need some extra help with, but they don't have capacity to keep an employee on indefinitely. So they've agreed to write an internship contract with Betty so she can get that industry experience for about 3 months. Betty utilizes a clothing support service because she doesn't have a lot of professional attire, but she does need that so she can work in the law office. The law firm then provided a letter of recommendation for Betty upon completion of her internship. So that's an example where, she didn't stay on with them, which is totally okay, but they were really impressed with her work. And so they wanted to, be that recommendation, have a recommendation for her as she does her job search. Oops. Okay, that is the end for me, and we can move on.
Thank you, Erin. I appreciate learning more. Every time I listen to each of you, I learn something new, and it just kind of helps fill my toolbox. So the next presenter we have is Shara Bradley. Shara is the program director of our Title I Youth Program. Shara?
Okay, so I am the prep program manager for the Title I Youth and Young Adult program. This grant was previously held by a different organization and was under the title Connect to Careers. So if any of y'all have experience with that, this is the program's been rebranded under YSS as PrEP. So just for your background knowledge, and if you did not work with Connect to Careers in the past, then you're probably like, what is this person talking about? So next slide. So we are very similar to the Title I adult program. I am really going to try not to repeat some of the information that Erin just went over. So just know that we are very similar, but the population we serve is a different age range. So our participants are age 14 to 24, and they will fall under either in-school youth or out-of-school youth. In-school youth are between the ages of 14 and 21, and out-of-school youth are between 16 and 24. So a lot of our participants are just getting started with their career and might not have any experience. We do serve Central Iowa, so Boone, Dallas, Jasper, Madison, Marion, Polk, Story, and Warren counties are within our area. And all of our participants have to be eligible to work in the U.S. and be facing some kind of significant barrier. Next slide. So our program participants are paired with a career advocate. Our career advocates work with the participants to create a very individualized plan based around that particular person's education, interests, and career goals. This can include a variety of things. It could be enrolling in a HiSET program if they never completed high school. It could be doing career exploration with our VR headsets so that they can narrow down what field they want to go into. Or it might be time management and financial literacy. But no matter what the focus area is, the career advocate guides the participant on creating and following through on their goals. Next slide. Thank you. So this is just a quick reference chart of the different experiential learnings. So like I said, a lot of it is very similar with Title I. But some of the options are paid, some are unpaid, some are shorter or longer than others. Similar to Title I, the only one that really guarantees permanent employment is the on-the-job training. But with the work experience, there is the option of the company hiring on the individual. But again, similar to Title I, YSS, if the experiential learning is a paid opportunity, with like the internship or the work experience, then YSS is the employer of record. It's only with the on-the-job training where the individual would be considered an employee of the company. So just keep that in mind. Next slide. So what does a job shadow look like for the youth and young adult program? So this experience is ideal for participants who have narrowed down their interest to maybe 2 or 3 fields, but they would like to get a better picture or understanding of each field. So you can look on the slide for some guidelines for each of the experiences that are highlight for the guidelines highlighted on the slides, but so what does an internship look like? So these are ideal for a participant who has picked a field. So they have narrowed it down to one, and they might be attending an education or training program that is in that field, but they have no actual experience working in the fields. Next slide. A work experience is ideal for a participant who has their chosen field, and they might have some experience or hard skills in that field, but it might be inconsistent or limited because they're still just simply young. They're still working on acquiring needed soft skills for their chosen job field as well. So with this one, again, there's the option of it being paid or unpaid. If it is paid, YSS is the employer of record. So an on-the-job training is ideal for a participant who knows their desired field, but needs some more hard skills. Their work experience should line up with the job description of the on-the-job training position. This is, like we've said, the only one that has permanent employment after completion. So the on-the-job training is a training that's provided by the employer to a paid participant who is engaging in productive work to develop skills that are required by that employer. And the participant does not already have those skills. Next slide. So as Sarah mentioned earlier, some benefits. Thanks. Some benefits of work-based learning is staff development, recruitment and retention, reducing or closing that skills gap, and improving soft skills. This is partly the result of different education and trainings that our program advocates are able to connect participants with. So some examples are on the screen, but some additional examples would be like Bring Your A Game curriculum, Serve Safe certification, CPR and first aid, and maybe like some financial literacy. Next slide. So now I'm going to try and paint a picture for y'all of what this all could look like. So let's say we have a new participant who is paired with an advocate, and this participant has not completed high school, but they're interested in maybe something IT, like computer programming, healthcare, or managing a store, which, yes, the three don't really have any overlap, but it happens. But they really are interested in managing a store because the only job they have in their history was working at a Burger King, and they really enjoyed it. So with their advocate, they do some career exploration, maybe on ONET, maybe with our VR headsets, and they discover that a nursing assistant, usually in Iowa, makes around $37,000 and requires approximately 2 years of experience or education training. Computer programs make more in Iowa, maybe around $82,000, but requires a 4-year degree. And a food service manager in Iowa can make around $65,000 and requires a high school diploma along with some work experience. So the participant is still not really sure on which one they want to do. So they get 3 different job shadows with 3 different companies that are in each of those fields. The participant really enjoyed the food service job shadow and decides that that education lines up with their own timeline. So the advocate supports them with getting enrolled in HiSET and completing that, and also gets them connected with Serve Safe manager level certification. So while working on those things, they want to gain more experience in the field. So they get lined up with an internship with maybe a company like Shara's Salty Snack Shack. So they do the internship with a company. And during that internship, we discover that the participant is often late to work halfway through this internship. So the prep advocate reaches out to the participant and discovers that they lost childcare. So they've been late because every day they've been scrambling to find someone to watch their kid. The advocate connects them with, walks them through how to get on childcare assistance and into a stable childcare center. And then they're able to complete the internship. So, move the timeline along. The internship's done, the education and training is done, and now the participant just needs some soft skills. So the advocate reaches out to Shara's Salty Snack Shack again, and even though it was a little rocky during the middle of the internship, they decide to take a chance and do a work experience, a paid work experience with the participant. So we get that connected, but the participant doesn't have office attire because they are going to do a work experience to gain some of those soft skills of managing the business. So prep supports them with getting work appropriate clothing for this work experience. And they go through the work experience, and let's say they discover that the participant still needs some support with leadership skills, because managing can be difficult to get those soft skills. So the advocate is able to connect that participant with some leadership training opportunities in the community. And after completing the work experience, Shara's Salty Snack Shack is so glad they took a chance on this individual, because they've turned out to be amazing, and do decide to hire them on after completing the work experience. Yay!
Thank you, Shara. All right. The final presenter that we are going to have today is Tyler Hansen. Tyler is the business manager for vocational rehabilitation. Tyler?
Thank you, Sarah. All right, so we're going to just kind of introduce what Voc Rehab is, what work-based learning opportunities we have. So on this slide here, it just has our mission and what we're after. So VR is a individualized program that delivers employment services for job candidates that have unique individual employment plans. So individuals with disabilities are our focus. Our business is also our primary customer. So when you hear dual customer approach, that is something that VR is taking seriously. So we want to also learn the business needs as well as the job seekers needs to pair those two. So you are our second customer. We want that to be prioritized. Next. And then here are our work-based learning opportunities. We're only going to go over 3 of them because 2 of them would require contracts, and those would be the occupational skills training and the project search. They're great opportunities. Project search is an evidence-based practice, but those do require RFPs to get those set up. And as you build those relationships, we can definitely set those up. But the current ones that are available at a quicker time frame would be the externships, work readiness assessment, and on-the-job training. We'll go into more details on this. Next slide. All right, to start with externships, we make it a little bit difficult. So actually just take out the X and make it an internship. So this is actually an internship where the job candidate is not the employee of the employer. The employee is paid by a third party, so that would be paid through another fiscal agent. They also would have liability insurance that would be under that third party, so that is not taken on by the employer. The externship is not also to replace a paid employee, but helps cover the costs to help get that person experience within that industry. So if somebody's wanting to go into the food industry and they have not had any experience doing that, that's a great way to get some hands-on experience. They could get paid in it and then also be able to come back and say, hey, these are some things that I need to learn on. We develop a training plan with you as the employer and do regular check-ins to make sure things are in the right direction. Externships can end at any time based off of the employer. If things are not going well, that is something that we can end and move forward on. It's a great way to help the job seeker get opportunities, as well as connect the employer to see if hey, maybe this person's something that I want to hire down the road. They have the skills and the experience that we're developing. So we'd love to bring them on, which could then lead into some opportunities to utilize maybe OJTs or other services down the road. And the next one we're going to talk about is the work readiness assessment. So the work readiness assessment is pretty similar to the OJT or the externship, but the time frame is a little bit different. Within externship, you can do 320 hours. Work readiness assessment is only up to 12 hours. This is hands-on. So an example of that could be working at a retail store, doing some of the stocking where somebody is that's an interest of theirs, but they have not had work experience previously. So they go do the hands-on training, get paid a stipend. They'd also have a job coach assisting them. They would be there assessing to ensure that they are able to do those essential functions of that role with or without accommodations. It's a great way for the employer to also see a person through their work experiences. I've had individuals that have been hired straight after a work readiness assessment because they're like, hey, that person has the skills and the experience that I want. They also have a great personality, and they'd fit our culture here at the employer. So that's a good way for somebody to get their foot in the door if they have not had that previously. And on to the next one. OJT, pretty similar to everybody else's process. We do pay up to 50% of the wages, up to 320 hours. That could be over a 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week, whatever the training plan is. This would be a monthly check-in at minimum with the employer. So our vocational rehabilitation counselors would be doing follow-up with you as a business, as well as the job seeker, that employee, to make sure things are going well. In many instances, we want to make sure retention is maintained, and on-the-job training is a great way to train and support that individual so they feel support in the work environment, as well as with our counselors following up to see how things are going, to make sure they're implementing those accommodations. They are your employee, so on day one, that's just one information that we want to make sure that it is yours, your employee. Hire them as any other individual, and we just make sure that the training plan is set up and they're learning those skills throughout that process. So maybe week one is I want to go through the onboarding stages of my welding experience. Then by weeks 2, 3, I want to learn these other skills by weeks 4, 5, and 6. And if they're not on the right trajectory, how do we make sure that that training plan is going to get those skills so then they can maintain work at your employer and hitting those productivity standards as well. All right, next. Supplemental services. So I did talk a little bit about those subject matter experts. I would hit on this, like utilize our subject matter experts in disability. They're going to be the ones that can come tell you, give you some specific examples on how to support those individuals. We can bring in our assistive technology, ADA and accessibility individuals to help make sure that the individual that is going through those work experiences or OJTs implement accommodations to support them, use them as resources outside of those options as well. But those are great. The 30, 60, and 90-day follow-up is something that we have started to do to make sure that the employer is getting good on the job and externship follow-up to make sure that that training plan is being followed for the employee, and they're getting those skills to develop for you as an employer as well. We can also pay for transportation, work attire, and much more. The other nice key to VR is we do have access to all the public high schools. I believe are 70 some colleges in the in Iowa plus externally, and then we also have access to adult job seekers. So currently we're serving about 23,000 people statewide. All right, and next slide. And then, does this really apply to your business? I would say yes. Just within the Des Moines area, we have individuals that are looking into business operations, healthcare, hospitality, retail, restaurant engineering, becoming teachers, working in the legal system. That could be anywhere from lawyers, paralegals to police officers, working in broadcasting, animals, architecture, agriculture, construction, automotive, and transportation. Those industries are just a few of the vast interest. I think currently there's about 1,080 people in the Des Moines area that are currently getting services that are interested in employment from that. I don't know what I want to do to I know exactly what I want to do. So it's just a really great opportunity to connect and have a good talent pipeline, as well as get into the work-based learning opportunities. So, and with that, I'll leave you with Sarah.
Thank you so much, Tyler, and really thank all of you for kind of describing your programs, the services that are available to the job seekers while they're utilizing those or involved in those programs. And I think that's really important to remember as you're listening on this call, is that you would be working with an employee that and have the companionship of a career planner to help with some of those conversations if needed. So just a really great opportunity. So I will go ahead and it does not look like we have any. There's also an interest form. If you would like to fill this interest form out, I'll get that sent out to everyone. I was also going to send all the slides to you so you can have this as well. There are no questions right now in the chat. So if anybody has a question, feel free to raise your hand.
I'm just gonna put this out there that if you're still, processing and digesting all of this information, but you are thinking that this could be useful, you want to bring it up to maybe some other people on your team or your organization, feel free to take down our emails. And send us a message if you want to reconnect, or fill out that interest form, because sometimes it's hard to commit right when you've just heard something or ask the right question right now.
That's a really good point. Thank you, Erin. Well, if there aren't any questions, we will conclude this webinar. I appreciate everybody's time and thank you for attending. Everybody have a great day. Thank you.